2020 was a rough year, but ever since May of 2020, I decided to make the most of it and do something I've never done before. I started making games, fulfilling a lifelong dream I've always had, ever since I first played Pokemon White on my Nintendo DS Lite in 2011. I've always been interested in making games because I loved games so much. This long break from schoolwork was a huge catalyst to starting that dream. Like I said, I started in May of 2020 by following Infenzia's low-poly racing game tutorial series. It's a shame he never added more episodes, because this was a great tutorial. I'll link to all the main tutorials I used in my first year in the description. Good thing I've been doing 3D modeling since late 2018, or I would have had a much tougher time starting out. I'd say any game developer should learn some basic poly modeling even if they plan on doing mostly 2D games. At this point, I didn't really understand code at all and was just following what he said to the T. The next tutorial I went off of was Bracky's first-person tutorial. If you're planning on starting out on game development, this Norwegian YouTuber is your man. He's cataloged almost every Unity feature I can think of in multiple, simple, easy-to-learn tutorials. I also did his Portal tutorial, which I couldn't fully understand until 5 months later in October, when I was able to understand the code and fix it up for my version of Unity. I really like this Portal setup, and I think I could make a pretty cool non-Euclidean game with it in the future. I also did Bracky's Making a Game in Unity series, which ended up in this short demo of a game called Don't Bash the Blocks. It's unplayable for you guys at the moment, but if you'd like to take a crack at this game yourself, let me know in the comments and I might just put it on my itch page and add a forever mode. The first demo game I made without the use of a tutorial was the short hot air balloon experience I made with the help of my brother, currently majoring in computer science. I think it looks okay, but the movement of the balloon could have used some work. Making little demo games like these help you get better at coding and solving problems though, so every little project is extremely valuable at this beginner's stage of development. Speaking of little projects, I made a small Animal Crossing project to test changing scenes at the push of a button and making a third-person camera. This was at the peak of New Horizons' popularity, so it was also fun to just make a bit of one of my favorite games at the time. Next, I made this little first-person shooter prototype, which was the first game I highlighted here on this channel through making levels, showing how to make a target practice minigame, and showing how to make a muzzle flash, my second biggest video at the time of this recording. I think without this game, my channel might not have started taking off. I also loved this little interactive main menu that I had, because I love when menus aren't static in games. It breathes so much life into it. I might continue with this prototype in the future to add multiplayer or something, because the single player is a bit drab, I'll admit. My next project was this Blobfish themed pixel platformer made by using Muddy Wolf Games' 2D platformer tutorial series, which I've also shown on the channel. Past those two videos on the channel, I made another world theme and had plans to make a whole game. I really liked those plans, so either I'll make that game a reality or I'll integrate those plans into some future titles I make. I think the main reason I stopped with this concept was because I didn't know how to make good levels, and that was daunting to me. But can we just take a moment to appreciate how much this never-before-heard desert music slaps, though? Speaking of iffy level design, my next game is the first itch.io game I officially published. It was for the Bracky's 2020.2 Game Jam, and it was about rewinding your little cassette tape man and solving puzzles. Honestly, I'm super proud of this game. It did pretty well for my first Game Jam and game in general, so it has a very fond place in my heart. I've put references to this game in a couple games I've done since, and I think I'll continue to carry on that tradition. In September, my baby coder brain attempted to make a 2D version of Super Mario Galaxy, sort of like some of the 2D levels in Super Mario Odyssey. As stated, my coder brain was very underdeveloped, and I just couldn't get it to work the way I wanted. Maybe someday I can fix it with my expanding noggin. Another small project I tried was a Jetpack Joyride clone, aptly titled Betpack Boyride. This led into my Flappy Bird copy, which used much of the same code. I have a video about how I made this Flappy Bird in the eye in the right-hand corner. The Mandalorian Season 2 was in full force in November of 2020, so I made a small prototype of the Razor Crest flying through space. Again, it's these small projects that help you understand coding and the game engine as a whole. I think trying to recreate things that are important to you at that time is a great way to stay enthusiastic about your games, like how I did with this and with the Animal Crossing game. Next comes the big game, the one I've shown for the longest time on this channel, Traffic Travelers. Funnily enough, I made this game by just asking my friends a cool mobile game that I could realistically recreate in a couple months. My friends said to do Temple Run and then change their mind to Subway Surfers, but I tried to make Traffic Travelers different to both of those by adding permanent items like the Melanator and Coin Multiplier. I'm still planning on pushing Traffic Travelers to mobile sometime this summer, so stay tuned for that. Moving on to another prototype for a tutorial series I made about explosions. It's just a simple demo showcasing a time bomb and more cartoony throw bomb. I did like the particle effects though. Next comes Melon Knight, the game that despite being a 6-day Game Jam game is the game that I spent the most time working on and the one that might even be my next big project, unless I get invested in something else. You've seen enough of Melon Knight to know what influenced me at that time, and if you haven't, check out the devlog in the eye after this video. I think this is the first time I've actually felt confident in my coding abilities, and this was only 8 months after starting out. Getting top 10 out of around 200 didn't hurt my confidence either. I got an Oculus Quest 2 at the end of January, so I really wanted to make a VR game. I don't have any footage of me making this VR demo, but what I do have is about half an hour of my brother and I messing around in this VR test world I made. It was fun to just goof off, even if there wasn't much coding involved. I did learn more about the built-in Unity animator, and that might help streamline making animators for octagonal-based movement systems, a tutorial I'm planning to make soon. I'm also planning to make an actual game out of this, either boxing or some other Wii Sports like tech demo. February came with Monkey See, Monkey Do, another game I made for Abraki's Game Jam. I also like how this one turned out, but I feel like I might need to get more charm with how I model and animate my 3D stuff, because there's a vast contrast between how good this looks and how good a game like Melon Knight looked. I still love the little idols and walks I made for the monkeys though, and this still holds a good place in my heart for being the first 3D game I published. Finally, Guaca-Mole, the last game I've done so far. This little Metroidvania is one of my favorite games I've done, despite being made in the shortest time. It's also one of the best looking and most polished games I've made, but it still definitely needs some help. I'm planning on fixing it still, I just had to finish this video and school first. But now that I've shown off all the things I've made this year, what do I do next? As I've said in past videos, in 2021 I'm planning on making or finishing one game a month, and I'm still on track to do that. I have plans for a minigame collection based on Mario and Wii Party, which for months that I'm busy, I might release 1 or 2 minigames to. I've got another game slowly cooking in my brain that I don't want to spoil too much of, but if you guys would like to make a piece of CG Smoothie history and be part of it, I'm running a competition for facial features to be added to that game on my Discord channel, link in the description. You guys have already submitted some great features, but I love seeing them, and more are always welcome. I'd also love to revisit some ideas, like making a roguelike Melon Dungeon game side game to Melon Knight, or adding on to Guaca-Mole with more areas and a sprawling network of burrows and caves. Whatever I decide on doing, I know I'll have a ton of fun doing it. Thank you all so much for watching my videos and playing my games. It meant a lot this year, and I'm glad this community is slowly growing. If you haven't already, I'd love it if you'd hit that subscribe button, as only 2% of you who watch are actually subscribed. That means if only half of you subscribe, we could get to 16,000 in one night. And with that little bombshell, I'll talk to you guys in a couple days with another video. Bye!